Saul of Tarsus was a man whose eyes shone with the intensity of an eternal flame. His fervor for studying the scriptures and the Jewish law was immense, almost palpable. He stood unwavering, like a bastion of tradition, a respected Pharisee with unshakable convictions. To him, the Torah was more than just a set of rules. It was a sacred guide, an unmovable anchor in a world that seemed to be tilting toward chaos. But Saul's fervor knew no bounds. His passion for the law turned him into an unrelenting persecutor of the early Christians. To him, these followers of Jesus were nothing short of heretics, a direct threat to the purity of the Jewish faith he had vowed to protect with his own life. He didn't merely believe they were wrong. He was convinced that his mission was to eradicate what he saw as heresy, a serpent that needed to be exterminated. With each step Saul took, the shadow of his determination seemed to grow. His eyes, which should have been beacons of wisdom, now burned with a nearly fanatical resolve. He saw his task not just as a duty, but as a sacred cause. Whenever he heard rumors of gatherings of Jesus' followers, his heartbeat quickened. Every name, every face that crossed his path was a target for his relentless zeal. It was as if tradition itself carried him in its unyielding arms, shaping and guiding him on a path that seemed preordained. Saul was like a knight on a holy crusade, determined to eradicate what he considered a threat. The weight of rules and traditions was his armor, and the clamor for justice his sword. In his mind, the fate of all who opposed the law was sealed, and he was ready to fulfill his role until the end. Saul's journey was marked by a fervor that consumed everything around him, a flame of conviction that allowed no room for doubt or hesitation. He advanced with the certainty that his mission was just a warrior in a spiritual battle that, to him, was the most important of all. His steps were resonant, echoing through every city he visited, as he marched with an almost supernatural determination to capture and punish the followers of Jesus. Thus, Saul's trajectory unfolded with the inevitability of an epic tragedy. Every step he took drew him closer to a destiny he could not yet foresee, but was undoubtedly about to transform his life in ways he could not imagine. As Saul traveled along the dusty road to Damascus, the landscape around him seemed to fade into a blur of warm, undulating colors. His journey was filled with purpose and conviction, but fate had something very different in store for him. Suddenly, a dazzling light, brighter than 1,000 suns, enveloped him in a supernatural embrace, obscuring everything around him. The intensity of the light was almost tangible, like a radiant cloak descending from the sky to wrap around Saul. He fell to the ground, his body unable to withstand the force of that celestial revelation. The world seemed to have turned into a place of pure luminosity and chaos, and amid this turmoil, a powerful voice emerged, cutting through the confusion with unmistakable clarity. "Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me?" The voice was deep, resonant, and carried a weight of authority that transcended any human understanding. It was as if the cosmos itself was speaking, a direct communication from the divine to the earth. Each syllable seemed to echo through every fiber of Saul's being, penetrating his deepest convictions and shaking the very foundations of his faith. In that moment of blindness and bewilderment, Saul realized that the light and the voice were not merely physical phenomena, but a powerful and transformative presence. The revelation was like a mirror that not only reflected his image, but also his flaws and the truth he had ignored. The zeal that had guided him up to that point now seemed like a mere plaything in the hands of a much greater truth. Saul's journey was on the brink of a monumental reversal. That light was not just a celestial explosion of brightness. It was a symbol of a new perspective, a call to see beyond what the eyes and mind could grasp. The voice of Jesus, with its unparalleled authority, was challenging Saul to reconsider everything he knew and believed. It was the beginning of a radical transformation that promised to dismantle old beliefs and make room for a new vision. The world around Saul seemed to spin and change, as if reality itself were being rewritten before his blind eyes. The impact of the divine encounter was not just a physical shock, but a spiritual metamorphosis. He was about to be launched onto a new trajectory, a journey that would lead him to discover truths he had never imagined, challenging all his convictions and forever altering the course of his life. And so, amid the light that transcended human understanding and the voice that challenged his perception, Saul began to glimpse a different path, one that would lead him to a destiny beyond anything he could have planned. After the dazzling encounter with the divine on the road to Damascus, Saul was led into the city, but he was now a different man, blind both physically and spiritually. His journey to healing was more than a simple physical relocation. It was a profound journey of inner transformation. He was guided as a lost man, not only through streets and alleys, but through the labyrinth of his own crumbling beliefs and prejudices. In Damascus, a new figure appeared to Saul, like a beacon of hope and healing. Ananias, a devoted disciple of Jesus, was instructed by a vision to seek out Saul. He had heard of the relentless persecutor now at the mercy of his own blindness. With a mix of fear and obedience, Ananias went to the place where Saul was staying, a mission that seemed fraught with paradoxes and challenges. When Ananias entered the house, the atmosphere was thick with palpable tension, as if the air was waiting for a radical change. With a gentle touch and comforting words, Ananias prayed for Saul. The moment the words of blessing were spoken, something extraordinary happened. Saul's sight was restored, not only his physical eyes but also his spiritual understanding. The light that had once blinded him now illuminated his inner being. Saul's healing was like a cosmic revelation, a rebirth that transcended the physical and penetrated his heart and mind. He finally saw the truth of the gospel of Christ with a clarity that had previously eluded him. The Pharisee who had persecuted Christians with blind zeal was now immersed in the love and grace of Jesus, like a new convert absorbing the light of truth. With his eyes opened and his vision restored, Saul experienced a profound spiritual metamorphosis. The reality he knew had been transformed, and his old convictions were now replaced by a new understanding of divine purpose. The truth that had once seemed a threat now revealed itself as a promise of redemption and new life. What had started as a journey of persecution was now becoming a walk of faith and transformation. Saul, once immersed in the darkness of fanaticism, was now emerging into a new era of light and understanding. The spiritual rebirth he experienced not only altered his path, but also laid the foundation for a mission that would change the course of Christian history. Thus, the healing and revelation in Damascus were the turning point in Saul's life. The man who had been a persecutor was now becoming an apostle, with a renewed vision and an open heart for the mission ahead. The transformation was complete, and the future unfolded before him with promises of new beginnings and new paths. After the transformative encounter in Damascus, Saul was no longer the same man. The inner transformation was so profound that it was reflected in his identity as well. He adopted a new name, Paul. This change was not merely symbolic, but a reflection of his new mission and the metamorphosis that had occurred within him. The name Paul now marked the beginning of a journey that would reshape the face of Christianity. With his new identity, Paul embraced a monumental mission. From a fervent Pharisee to an indefatigable apostle, his path was now filled with new purpose. He no longer confined himself to a circle of Jewish followers. His vision expanded to reach the Gentiles, the nations across the Roman Empire. Instead of sticking to old traditions, Paul embarked on an audacious endeavor to spread the gospel to all, without distinction. Paul's missionary journey took him through a series of vibrant and diverse cities, from the bustling streets of Antioch to the majestic avenues of Rome. In each place, he established new Christian communities, like a sower of hope and faith. His words and actions built bridges between cultures and traditions, uniting people around the message of Christ. Every city he visited was like a fertile field where he planted the seeds of the gospel, which then blossomed into vibrant communities of faith. But Paul's impact was not limited to his travels. He was also a prolific writer, and his epistles would become pillars of Christian theology. These letters, filled with wisdom and instruction, not only guided the communities he had founded, but also provided a solid foundation for future generations of Christians. The depth of his writings reflected the vastness of his experience and the clarity of his new spiritual vision. Saul's transformation into Paul is an impressive testimony to the power of redemption and the strength of a new identity. From someone who once persecuted Christians, he became one of the greatest defenders of the faith, a beacon of light amid darkness. The change in name and mission symbolized not only a new direction for his life, but also the infinite capacity of God to transform lives and redeem those willing to listen and follow. Thus, Paul, the apostle to the Gentiles, was not just a new identity. He was the embodiment of divine transformative power. His journey of faith and his invaluable contributions would continue to resonate through the centuries, inspiring and guiding millions around the world. The impact of Saul's transformation into Paul echoes through the centuries like an ever-flowing river of inspiration. His life, once marked by persecution and blind zeal, became an immortal testament to redemption and transformation. The change in identity was not merely a detail in Paul's biography, but the starting point for an eternal legacy that would shape the history of Christianity. Paul's epistles, his letters addressed to Christian communities scattered across the Roman Empire, are more than mere historical documents. They are beacons of spiritual wisdom. Each epistle, written with depth and clarity, is a fundamental piece of the New Testament. They offer invaluable insights into faith, morality, and Christian life. Paul, with his eloquent style and theological insight, addressed essential issues, from the nature of grace to the practical implications of faith in the daily lives of Christians. Paul's legacy transcends time and space. His influence can be seen in the churches he helped establish, the communities he guided, and the generations of Christians shaped by his words. His writings are not just a spiritual guide, but also a source of comfort and motivation for millions worldwide. The central message he conveyed is clear and powerful. Redemption and transformation are possible for everyone, no matter how far one may have strayed from the path. Paul's life exemplifies that, through grace, any life can be renewed. His own journey from persecutor to apostle is a living metaphor that deep changes are not only possible, but also profoundly impactful. He demonstrated, through his personal example and inspiring words, that God's grace can reach even the most distant and transform even the hardest heart. Thus, Paul's legacy is a beacon of hope. He reminds us that the power of redemption is limitless and that, regardless of past mistakes, there is always room for a new journey, a new identity. His teachings continue to illuminate the path for those seeking a life of true and deep faith. Paul's story is a lasting testament to the divine ability to transform lives and renew hearts, maintaining its impact and relevance through the centuries.